Frank Cavanaugh back here with another Full Metal MAGA. I got a really sweet one for you today. I'm doing an interview with some old school, hardcore, master rockers, In Cold Blood, and Blaze Tishko, who's the leader of In Cold Blood, who's also been in a bunch of other bands, is with us today. Hey, Blaze, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you, Frank?
I'm good. I'm good, man. So In Cold Blood, you guys have been around, since 1998, and you just came out with yesterday a new project, a new LP called Legion of Angels. You want to talk about that, about that new record, about what you went through doing it, and basically what it's all about.
Okay, yeah, it was basically, it started from it was me and Aaron and Lenny, who were in we were all in Cold Blood, and we were those guys obviously in Integrity too, and Rob Orr at the time was playing drums. And long story short, we had put all these songs together, managed to get into the studio to record them, and basically broke up in the middle of the recording. The drums had gotten done, and we just had a falling out, kind of personal conflicts that kind of reached a head, I think, and so those guys left, and I was pretty determined to make sure that it saw the light of day somehow. I didn't have a singer, I didn't really have a band, and I definitely wanted to. I didn't want to just put the record out just to do it, like here's Blaze Tishko's project. I wanted it to be an actual band. So when we had it, fast forward, probably a couple years later, but I found a couple guys that we started screwing around and playing, and not really with the intention of doing In Cold Blood, but guys that were fans of that band. And, it just kind of morphed into it. And I said, well, I also have this record, that's basically In Cold Blood, and just needs to be finished. So I went, and the drums were done. I recorded all the guitars. I recorded the bass. I even borrowed a bass from you to do that C standard song, the C standard song that's on there. And then after that, after I got the music down, that was probably probably a year and a half to 2 years ago that the music got done. I still had the singer issue to deal with. So I rented a practice spot and set up a boom box and just started practicing, learning how to yell. And I did that for a couple months until I felt like I was good enough to take it to a studio. And then did that, went to the studio, ended up finishing it. It was one of the last, it was actually the last metal record recorded at Mars. And if anybody, for anybody out there that doesn't know what Mars is or whatever, basically pretty much any, metal or hardcore record that came out of Cleveland, I would say, what do you think, Frank? 95% of them probably. Yeah,
Bill Korecky. I did when I was in Outface. We recorded there back when he had his studio in Parma. That guy is he's Bill Korecky's. He was a Cleveland hardcore metal institution that if it wasn't for that guy, so many bands they would have never had their product captured. That guy's a real behind the scenes unsung hero. I want to talk to you about singing. You had, Bourbon sang first, and you had Jason Popson from Mushroom Head came in, Bourbon went back, came back, and here you are now, 2019. You're like, those guys are doing their own thing. Both Bourbon and Jason are awesome people. Doing what they do and doing it good, but you wanted to do In Cold Blood. So you start singing and taking on that mantle of being a singer and guitar player. What was that like, training yourself to do that? That must have been pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, here I am, never done it my whole life, been playing music pretty much my whole life. And all of a sudden I had to, put on a pair of shoes that certainly weren't very comfortable. And, I just, it's funny, you get, a lot of times you get pushed into the corner and the only way to get out is to fight out. And that's what it felt like for me. It was like, you know, I was pretty tore up about the breakup. These guys were guys I'd play in bands with, you know, forever, since '94, something like that, in one way, shape, or form. I mean, I've really played music with the same group of guys my whole life, and all of a sudden, these guys don't want to be in a band with me anymore, you know. And it's like, Jesus, like, what's wrong with me, you know? So I sat in a garage for a year and a half and stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out why everybody didn't want to play music with me, really. And I think it was there was just a lot of stupid politics that were going on. I don't know if it was nearly as much of a personal thing as I was probably making it out to be. But you know, I was fortunate enough to reconnect with an old friend, with Dwid, your old friend, and I was lucky that he kept very strange hours because I own a restaurant. So I keep pretty weird hours too, you know. Go time for me is 2, 3 in the morning, and for him that's 9 in the morning or whatever. So you know, he kind of just helped pull me out of the doldrums a little bit and gave me the confidence that, you know, that I should do this. And you know, it's like when you get that position where, you know, like I said, you're getting pushed into a corner, and you know, some people fight out and some people give up, and I sometimes keep going to a fault, and a lot of times it's a bad thing.
I think that's one of the things that makes, you know, all the people that came from our generation of that straight edge hardcore, where it was like the violence that we see with Antifa now, or Antifa. It's like you would go to a hardcore show back in the late 80s, early 90s, and that was just the norm. Like, you went there to beat and be beaten, you know? And so it's like, now here it comes in society, and with the way that political things are going now, on a national scale, where if you are a conservative or a libertarian, or actually it's anything right of democratic socialist, you get shut down because it's a cult, and you're forced now to do things yourself. You're forced to do it again the DIY way, and I think that's awesome. And you know, have you seen in hardcore any kind of blowback? Because I know that on social media you're very vocal in your political beliefs, and just common sense. You're not right or left. You're common sense, right in the middle. Yeah. So you know, there's people that do not like people who deviate. And have you experienced any kind of blowback from basically the radical left?
Well, I mean, only on social media. You know, it seems like it doesn't ever really rear its ugly head in person, which is, you know, pretty ironic and kind of typical, I suppose, for what it is that we're dealing with. Excuse me. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of it on social media, and a lot of it is not even, you know, I'm not a Trump guy. I was really excited when I heard some of his I wanted to say rhetoric, but it wasn't rhetoric, but some of his campaign promises, because in my opinion, I mean, to me, the two-party system is the reason that Washington does not work. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a monster Trump guy, but at the same time, I don't necessarily have Trumpitis like a lot of other people do. You know, his name gets, somebody was telling me today, the flour that I use at my restaurant for the pizza is, it's called All Trumps, and it's been called that for ever. You know, that's just the name of it. And me and Frank live out in the boondocks, so we had the Mesopotamia ox roast that was going on, and this lady, Mespo Expo. So there was a person there making pizzas out of the trailer, and this other person had seen the all Trump bags, you know, the empty bags and behind the trailer. And so this is one of my purveyor was telling me the story today, and she got mad that she had bags that said all Trumps on them. It's like, they weren't waving a Trump flag. That's what it's actually called. But the reason I tell that story is, you know, it seems it's become so polarized, you know, and people have really, you know, they're so sensitive, and it's all media driven, you know, it's
Pavlovian almost. It is complete brainwashing, and it's amazing when you have really smart, really well-intentioned people that are part of a cult now. It is a cult. First, I used to think that liberalism was a mental disease, which it is. You know, Trump derangement syndrome and cognitive dissonance. Now it's like it is a cult. It's a religious cult. And if you look back at the parallels between what's happening right now and what happened with multiple communist revolutions. It's the same thing where they're using the media. They're saying that people are hate speech. Anything that is against what they say, you're a hate agent, you're a hate speech, and that's how they shut us down. And it's really important now that people like us who do not have that, how can I say this? We both started playing music at a young age, and we did it ourselves, and we had to fight to do it. And now that we're men and we have a voice and we have families, it's like, do these people understand who they're messing with? You know, we're not going to just sit back and be like, oh wow, you don't you said something mean about me. I guess maybe I should apologize and get you on my good side. It just makes us more angry. It makes us more pissed, and we want to fight more. Yeah. And you know, it's really ironic to me because in the hardcore scene, I see that there's you look at myself, people like Gavin McGinnis, who are old school hardcore punks. You know, we were beating up Nazi skins, or we were anti-Nazis back in the 90s. Yeah. And now you have that hardcore group of people that was straight edge hardcore, that were anti-racism, that have now become antifa too. And it is a prime recruiting ground for antifa is straight edge hardcore. And I think what you're doing musically, and how you're not really like F you to the other side. You're just like,
I think that's important too, you know, and I wanted to make sure I had a chance to say that, is that, you know, I had an opportunity to play in a band just recently, and they wanted to come out and be like, you know, fuck liberals and this and that. And I just don't, my goal is unity.
Right.
So, I mean, the goal to me is unity. And I think that, you know, if you attack people's beliefs like that, you start calling them names, they have no choice but to be defensive. You're never gonna, it's like the preacher on the corner yelling at everybody that they're going to hell. You know, how many souls does that guy really save? Because, you know, when you walk by somebody like that and they're screaming at you, you think you're gonna sit down and go, hey, you know what? You're right. No, you're not. You know, so
you know, that's funny that you compare the rabid, radical, hysterical left with a street preacher, because that's so apropos, because that's exactly what's happening.
I think it's not just, it's both, to me, honestly, Frank, I think it's both sides, you know, because you have to admit that you're seeing some of it on the right, as far, you know, just people getting attacked for their beliefs. And you're never going to change somebody's mind by attacking them like that.
I agree.
Life is about approach, you know, and how you approach situations and tact, you know, for about probably even a better word, you know. And if you want to win somebody over, you better be tactful. Yelling at them and calling them names is not going to win them over.
And you know, it's the thing is that you look at the quote unquote radical left and then the quote unquote alt right. Yeah. And they're so akin in so many ways, and we both want what's the best, you know, except for people that are total 100% globalist communists. They're just like burn it all down.
Sure.
And you have people manipulating our political system. That they made a huge thing about the fake scandal about Trump and the Russians, but you actually have today George Soros, Alexander Soros, Peter Soros, the Sorosian legions of doom that are getting paid. That, you know, I started a little vlog thing here and a little website, and I'm going up against people that are getting grants from Media Matters or Open Source Society for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sure. And we're forced to do it on our own, which is good. And that's why they can never kill us, because where it's coming from on the left, I see it. I don't know, you can disagree with me, but I don't see it as genuine, really. I see it as manufactured. I see the ultimate AstroTurf is when you had a Ferguson and George Soros linked organizations were hiring protesters, and then these protesters 3-4 months after Ferguson sued the organization because they never paid them $15 an hour to protest. It's like, You can have all the money in the world and you can make all the fake money up you want and make it out of thin air. But when people are willing to do things, to get injured, to be at risk, to even die for free, there's no way you're going to win, you know? Yeah. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that wholeheartedly, and I do believe that there is, you know, that those guys are trying as hard as they can to pull the. I mean, it's no different really than any lobbyist, I guess, in Washington. You know, and to me, that is the issue. You know, is and I was really hoping that, you know, because that was a Trump campaign promise that he was going to remove that. You know, so with my hardcore Trump guys that I talk to, that I have friends that are hardcore Trump guys, you know, that's the one thing I bring up all the time, and I just say, I don't understand why that hasn't gone away. Like, that was a campaign promise that shouldn't exist anymore. And Soros would be a part of that, really, a large part of it, obviously. But you know, that just befuddles me. I don't know what either it's so deep and so entrenched. Either one, he was bullshitting, or two, it's so deep and entrenched that he can't get rid of it. It's one.
I think it's just so deep. I mean, with the whole Jeffrey Epstein Lolita Express thing coming out right now. Yeah. I know when I was at the height of my musical career, I was in Hollywood, and Hollywood feeds off innocence. They're vampiric. And there's so many people that basically peer pressure, man, that I'm sure were hanging out, very big people, very high profile people that were hanging out with the Jeffrey Epstein crowd and got sucked into that, being a little bit inebriated or whatever. And hey, you know, the person that you thought was a grown woman last night, that's a 14-year-old daughter, that's a 14-year-old girl. And now you're going to do whatever we say for the rest of your life, you know? And that's very deep. That's very dangerous, because you're looking at mass amounts of power now that, you know, it's if you have a mass group of people that hate you, you can feel that energy, and you can call it spiritual energy or whatever, but there's definitely some kind of vibe and energy there. And we're at a place where it's like, I don't want to get all hippie, but it's like a cosmic spiritual battle that's going on right now, man.
Yeah.
I really feel it. You know, it's a great time to be alive.
Yeah, for sure. It's you just, there's got to be some kind of common ground, you know, and if for me, I try and find the common ground. I try and get across to everybody is listen, these people that you're supporting, and you know, you go out and you live and breathe and die by their every word. They're actually your enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the people that are destroying you, that are making these terrible decisions on your behalf or whatever. And, you know, I even have like I have a question for you. Maybe you've thought of this once and maybe you never have. Two things. One is, think about all these. So we have all these issues, right? And I'm going to bring up one that's a hot button issue. And I'm just curious why we've never gone this route. But okay, so we'll say illegal healthcare for illegal immigrants, right? That's a hotbed issue. You got people that are yay, you got people that are nay. Why can't that just be put to a vote to the people? You opt in or you opt out, and you create a budget based off of people that have opted into it. And that goes across the board for all these hot button issues. Instead of having, you know, we've put our faith into these people that are basically being controlled by huge money, you know, whoever it may be. Walmart is a monster, and they're nobodies really in the grand scheme of things. But, you know, that's just a stupid, dumb example. But I don't understand why we haven't switched to something. I mean, obviously, I think I know why. It's probably because the politicians don't want to give up the power. But it just seems like a common sense solution to something that's dividing us immensely. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, look at it this way. You have so many different factions. And look at illegal immigration, since you brought that up.
Okay.
There's been comprehensive immigration reform legislation has been put to the Congress. I think it's been 10 times in the last 15 years. The American people have spoken 10 times, 9 or 10 times, and the American people have said, no, we don't want it. And so you have politicians, and the hugest thing is you have bureaucrats that are in the administrative law of our federal government, who are hired for life, can never go away. The unions protect them. They cannot be fired. That is the deep state.
Sounds like a senator.
Well, I mean, that's the deep. What the deep state is, people, they think they're right. They actually watch. You know, if you watch Fox News and CNN, you're going to get two different stories. If you only watch Fox News or you only watch CNN, then you're really not very informed. You're ignorant,
Sure,
because you only have one side. And you have people that are so brainwashed, and now they've just kicked up the brainwashing where it's turning violent. And I think the only way that we're going to stop it is by pushing to have the middle ground, because these people that are saying they hate me because I'm a libertarian and I'm more middle of the road, but I lean conservative. I don't hate you. I don't hate you back. You're my friends. You're my families. You know, what is wrong with this picture where here we are?
The common ground is should be love for this country.
Yeah. It should be, and
that should be the thing that binds us together.
I think it was really awesome what the president did for the 4th of July, because they tried to skewer him, and he made a speech where he could have completely been political, and he wasn't, and he crushed them. And I don't think I've seen anyone who's been more presidential than that. I don't think I've seen a president do that in my lifetime. You know, Eisenhower maybe would be someone. All right, we're running out of time here. So everybody, I want you to check out Legion of Angels by In Cold Blood. What label are you guys on now?
Fast Break Records.
Fast Break Records. Oh yeah, Fast Break Records.
Pennsylvania.
And everyone check out Fast Break Records, because Fast Break Records has there's both hardcore. There's all kinds of hardcore there, and there's a lot of good people on that label. I forgot that you guys were.
It's so hard to do labels these days. So I mean, it's got to be. There's no money in it. So these people that are doing it, it's a labor of love, you know. And
you know, I want to thank the guys from Fast Break, because I know, you know, coming on my show, it's an issue, because the name of the show is Full Metal MAGA. It's obvious I'm a libertarian. You know, I'm for common sense, and you know, you cleared it with them, and they were cool with it, and that really means a lot to me. And thank you to you guys over there at Fast Break, because that is what is going to keep this country together, is when you can have a record label like that, where you have people of all stripes, all ideologies, and the one thing that binds us together is that we all are Americans. So that's totally awesome. And tell hi to Sean and the boys for me, that Sean Hinkle is I love that guy. He's an incredible bass player, and he's an incredible person.
Everybody loves Sean.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, man. So Blaze, man, thank you so much. And if anyone's ever in Middlefield, go to Vinny's Pizzeria and buy the house. Now, actually tell them that I sent you, and I think that you get a 50% discount on your meal.
I would say minimum.
All right, man. I love you, brother.
You're 50% off.
Blaze, you be good and keep rocking, man.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Thanks for checking it out. Full Metal Mag is a place where libertarians, conservatives, classical liberals, apolitical people, musicians and artists can gather. We don't endorse or condemn any candidate or political party. We just want to be able to meet on a common ground and discuss things like we used to be able to do.